Hi, this is Steve from LZ23 Strength, where we exert ourselves, we elevate our health, and we evolve in mind and body. And we're looking at the subject of living a balanced life, why that's vital for us, and why it's possible for everyone. You don't need any special talents, you don't need great circumstances, but all of us can live a balanced life, which is going to add and help us to achieve a good health span and longevity. So to start us off, think about never before in history has there been so many opportunities and possibilities of things that we can do. On the flip side, along with that, there's a lot of distractions, time-consuming pursuits, time-wasting pursuits that we need to give attention to and be careful of. But with all of that, even when it comes to the area of health, there's so many things that we're told, this is how you should exercise, this is how much you should exercise, these are the things you should do, this is what you should eat, this is how much we get bombarded on a daily basis. And even on this channel, we talk about all those things, and I try to put it in a balanced way, a realistic way, that we can't do everything that we would like to do. It's been said that trying to pursue a healthy life is at least a full-time job or more, and most of us don't have that kind of time or energy to pursue it at that level. So that's where having a balanced life comes into play. So trying to encourage everybody to consider that. Some people will jump in 100 miles an hour. They're zealous and they want to attack it. If you're younger, maybe you can do that for a while. Many people doing that might quickly burn out or in time burn out and then again give up altogether. And we want to remember this isn't, while sprinting is phenomenal, and next summer I'm going to do some videos of me sprinting at the tender age of 61. But for now, this isn't a sprint. Health span and longevity is more of a marathon, and it's a slow motion race. And when I think of the turtle in the hare, or the turtle just taking a steady pace and making progress, that's what we want to consider in having a balanced life. And in doing that, something that we talk about often on this channel is consistency. Everything that we're doing, we want to do it consistently. It can't be a roller coaster of sometimes we're up and we're doing well, other times we're down and we're not doing anything. The consistency, even at a slow pace, just making progress. We talk about moving the lever, and that's what we want to take place when it comes to our health span. So a balanced life prevents the neglect of one area from causing a breakdown in others. And one of my very first videos, I talked about my heart situation that happened last February, and just in general, some of the health things. And that's kind of because I guess I wasn't totally in balance. My sleeping, mentioned for many decades was poor, and my diet, I always thought I could outwork the bad diet, and wanting to get as big as I could, ate everything possible, and most of it not very good, and it led to health situations. So a balanced life prevents us from doing that. So I could have used my own advice 20, 30 years ago. It would have really helped. But when we're talking about balance, we're talking about several areas. First of all, when we think of physical balance, we're talking about eating properly, eating healthy, and I think by now most of us realize and know what that is or what that entails. But that's part of being physically balanced. And then with our exercising, remember, movement means life. So we want to move each and every day. The walking, we want to have some, as much as we can in our circumstances and ability and age, to have some high intensity training for our cardio. Norwegian 4x4, sprinting, as I mentioned, and then strength training. We want to have that for our muscles as we age, to keep as much strength as possible so that we can function independently. And what goes along with that, which we never think of, and I've never thought of in the past, balance training. As we get older, we certainly don't want to fall, and balance is a key factor in that. So we're talking about physical balance. We see that it entails more than just one thing. It brings in our diet and nutrition. It brings in physical activity. Another area that's important that we don't a lot of times give attention to or even think of, we think everything's going fine, but mental and emotional balance is critical too. Stress management. Chronic stress triggers systematic inflammation, which is linked to nearly all or most diseases. So we want to practice mindfulness and doing our best to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. It helps to manage stress and inflammation. And what that's going to factor in is doing things like journaling we've talked about, breathing techniques. Even our sleep is vital in this. Our sleep hygiene, as I mentioned, for 20 or 30 years, my sleep was poor. I'm not a professional sleeper like Brian Johnson talks about being. I'm hopefully going to get there one day. I'm doing way better than I did, but that's vital if we're going to have mental and emotional balance. And all of this can factor into our cognitive, which is another area that we talk about on this channel. But unless people are looking specifically for themselves or family members dealing with things like dementia or Alzheimer's, we don't think of those factors kind of until the later years. But the more we can do at a younger age, I always talk about learning new things, learning a language, learning a musical instrument, doing challenging things for our brain is going to help us to remain balanced. And the emotional part, I can kind of tie into a little with our next one, social balance. We talk about our 4 pillars. Let's bring in the 4 pillars right now. We talk about the 4 pillars being our movement, involving strength training, cardio training, balance, walking. The second pillar being sleep. The third pillar being diet and nutrition. And the fourth one being relationships with our family and friendships, having a sense of purpose. And that's where social balance, again, having a balanced life comes into play, because I had a 2-part video a month ago or so dealing with loneliness, and it's called the loneliness epidemic. And sometimes we might not think of ourselves or friends or family members dealing with that, but there are so many individuals in all different age groups, different countries, but even here in the United States, it's a big factor. And sometimes we'd be shocked that even younger people are dealing with loneliness. So maintaining strong social connections is a powerful predictor of health span, well-being, wellness, and longevity. So social balance. So we want to cultivate and nurture relationships with others, with our family, with friends, and that'll lead to having that social balance and emotional balance. Again, consistency is critical. Consistently building sustainable habits is going to build momentum and help us to keep it going, because we're going to find at times that things aren't always going the way we want them to. And that's where something called rebalancing is important. I think of financial world, we're encouraged yearly or every 6 months to a year to rebalance our portfolio. We need to do that too when it comes to our health, because sometimes we're really good when we talk about those 4 pillars of one aspect. Maybe we have our diet is great. I wish mine was working at it. Our diet was great, and maybe our exercise, and I feel my exercise is pretty good. Not 100%, but I think it's very good. But maybe our sleep isn't very good, and our social connections aren't real good, or relationships with others. Well, that's where we want to kind of rebalance, like you would do a portfolio. Maybe we have to take a little time away from those other 2, a little attention to focus on these 2 and rebalance, so that all 4 are moving forward in a good way. And in kind of doing these things and the consistency, it reduces the stress of trying to do all or nothing. If we have that mentality, or that's our personality, when things don't go, it's too easy to give up, throw in the towel and not even trying any of the areas. So that's vital to keep the consistency and balance in our lives in all four of those areas. Some of the things too that getting a little more specific in some of these areas, we talked about stress. So chronic stress triggers inflammation and can cause all sorts of downfalls leading to anxiety, depression, actually physical illness. So we're trying to reduce that, and that's where balance in our Healthspan can help us in doing all the things, not perfectly, but to the best of our ability, and willingly and excitedly giving it attention on a daily and weekly basis. Again, can enhance our cognitive function. None of us want to suffer from dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other diseases of the brain and things that can affect our memory. We want to, as we're looking to the forward years, to our 60s and 70s and 80s, we want to feel good physically, but also cognitively in our brains. So a balanced life is going to help us to hopefully achieve that and keep our brains functioning at a high level. There's another area dealing with cellular health, something called telomeres. Maybe you've heard of those. Well, it's interesting. The telomeres are protective caps at the end of chromosomes that prevent DNA from fraying. It's kind of compared to the little caps that are on the end of shoelaces. That's what these telomeres are like, and their length is linked to cellular aging. So as we age, our telomeres shorten, but it's good to know that we can do something about it. All the research, and it's newer research, but there's a lot showing that our lifestyle can slow down the shortening of these telomeres. So again, exercise, our diet, proper sleep, lowering stress, these are things that are definitely going to help us in that regard. Also, when we're talking about lifestyles, those are the positive things. Some of the things that seem obvious, but a lot of folks are struggling with negative effects that are going to shorten: smoking, obesity, high stress levels. So certainly, if that's a concern for us or something that we're struggling with, we want to give that deeper and more powerful attention to try to fix that if we can, the best we can, because we certainly don't want those negative effects to shorten our telomeres. And then even injury and disease prevention. We think of, as we get older, we've talked in many episodes about the dangers of falling, and many individuals have hip fractures, and the statistics are terrible when people age and have injuries like that. Even things like shoulder falls and have shoulder injuries, broken shoulders, the limited mobility as you get older, it's going to affect quality of life. So having a balanced life really is trying to incorporate for us to have a good quality of life in our health span and longevity. So remember, as we talked about these areas, we're looking for progress, not perfection. Each and every day trying to get a little better. We think of those 4 pillars, and there's other areas of health, obviously, that come into play that kind of are byproducts of these things. There's biohacking, things that we can do, but really want to focus in on those four pillars of health and making the little changes, trying to move the lever, as we mentioned, to get us to a good health span, good quality of life, independence, mobility. All of these things will certainly bring us more happiness as much as possible, along with the other challenges of life that we're trying to navigate. So I appreciate you watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Leave a comment of how you try to live a balanced life. Any suggestions you have for our community. Appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to future content. But again, please like and please subscribe, and have a great day.